Welcome to Life Stories. Imagine standing in the midst of what should have been your happiest day, your baby shower. You're surrounded by friends, by family, but all you feel is the crushing weight of rejection. Your sister smirks, your mother's words cut like glass, and the gift meant to bring you joy, it's an insult, a cruel reminder of everything you've struggled to overcome. And yet, it's not just their rejection that stings. It's the realization that the one person you've trusted the most might be the one who's been holding you back all along. How do you fight for yourself when the people you love make you feel invisible? Stay with us, because what happens next will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about love, family, and finding your own strength. Let's dive in. The baby shower was supposed to be a celebration, a moment of joy, a milestone in a life that had been long awaited. Callie had dreamed of this day for years. The fluttering excitement when she saw those two pink lines on the test, the hope and pain she had endured through the years of trying, the doctor's visits, the failed attempts, the surgeries, the hormone injections that made her cry at the most ridiculous things. She had worked for this moment, prayed for it, and now, with her belly rounded and heavy, she was ready to hold her baby, ready to bring life into the world. But there, in the middle of her living room, warm with pastel balloons and the smell of cinnamon and frosting, she could feel the tension building, like a storm was approaching. Her hands rested gently on her swollen belly, her dress clinging to her in the soft peach fabric. Everything looked perfect, and yet something gnawed at her from the inside. Was it nerves? Or was it something else? James, her husband, stood by her side, calm and steady as always, his hand brushing against hers under the table. He was her rock, the person who believed in her even when no one else did. He had always been that way, and she loved him for it. As the doorbell rang, her breath caught, and she tried to brush away the nagging feeling. Veronica, her older sister, arrived late, as usual, heels clicking against the hardwood floor like a warning shot. She swept into the room like she owned it, her designer dress sharp and flawless, her lipstick perfect. The moment she entered, the mood shifted, and Callie knew that something was coming. Brooke, her mother, followed behind her, holding a store-bought fruit tray like a last-minute obligation. She didn't hug Callie, didn't even smile. Just a curt nod and a half-hearted hello. It didn't matter. She had been waiting for this moment, hoping this time, just this time, they would be proud of her. Proud of the life she had built with James. Proud of the child she was about to bring into the world. But when Veronica dropped the stroller in front of her, an old, worn-out thing that looked like it had survived a hurricane, Callie's heart sank. It didn't look like a gift. It looked like a slap. The stroller creaked, the wheel bent at an awkward angle, and the fabric was stained and torn. It had clearly seen better days. It was the opposite of what she had imagined for her child. The room went silent, and Callie felt the weight of everyone's eyes on her, piercing her like hot needles. Then Veronica spoke, her voice cold, biting. "It fits her life," she said with a smirk, loud enough for everyone to hear. Callie froze. Her breath caught in her throat as her mother, standing beside Veronica, added, "She's lucky she even got invited." The words hit her like a punch to the gut, and for a second, she couldn't breathe. She wanted to scream, to stand up and tell them how cruel they were, but her throat was tight, her body trembling. Instead, she forced a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. She couldn't let them see how much their words hurt. Not now. Not in front of everyone. James's fingers brushed hers again, a silent question. "Are you okay?" But the words wouldn't come. How could they? They had been through so much together. This wasn't the moment for her to break down. This wasn't the moment for her to cry. The room buzzed with awkward whispers, but it felt like all the air had been sucked out of it. The soft music that had once filled the space with light now felt out of place, almost cruel. Callie felt exposed, as though the very walls were closing in on her. She glanced at the stroller, unable to tear her eyes away from it. It was a joke, wasn't it? A cruel joke. But then James stood up. He moved with purpose, calm, unfazed by the chaos swirling around him. He crouched beside the stroller, his fingers grazing the handle with a kind of care that made no sense for something so damaged. He didn't say a word, not yet, but Callie saw it in his eyes. He wasn't inspecting it for its flaws. He was doing something else. And then, with a quiet motion, he pressed a hidden button beneath the handlebar. Callie's heart skipped a beat. Was it a trick? Was it... The stroller jerked slightly, then the fabric began to lift, and soft pastel lights blinked beneath it. The bent wheel straightened, and the sunshade lifted with a smooth hydraulic motion. The sound of it was soft, almost melodic, as if the stroller was waking up from a long slumber. A voice chimed from beneath the handlebar, "Welcome, baby Evan." The room fell into stunned silence. Gasps filled the air, and for the first time that evening, Callie felt her heart swell. She didn't know what to feel. Was she angry? Was she embarrassed? No, this wasn't the moment for that. James had known. He had known all along. The stroller wasn't broken. It was a disguise. Beneath the surface, it was a custom-built, high-tech marvel. The kind of stroller a billionaire might buy for their child, not something discarded and thrown away. It had everything: temperature control, a built-in monitor, even a voice recording feature. And James had done this for her, for their son. Veronica looked like she had been slapped. Her mouth opened, but no words came out. Her expression shifted from smug satisfaction to pure confusion, regret, and then, just for a split second, something else. Her arms folded tighter, her jaw set, but even she couldn't hide the disbelief in her eyes. "It's something I've been working on with a friend from my engineering program," James explained casually. "Was going to surprise Callie next week, but I guess Veronica helped me reveal it a little early." Veronica blinked, thrown off by the sincerity in his voice. She wasn't used to being the one caught off guard. She wasn't used to someone else winning the game. Callie felt the room shift. There was a ripple of applause, small at first, then growing louder. Someone even whispered, "That's actually genius." And for the first time, Callie felt it. She stood up, her spine straightening, her shoulders pulled back. She was not the weak, quiet sister anymore. She was not the one who always had to smile through the hurt. She looked at Veronica, who now seemed small, her composure shattered. "Thanks for the gift, Veronica," Callie said calmly. "You were right. It does fit my life." She paused, letting the words hang in the air before adding, "Surprising, resilient, full of hidden strength." And just like that, the atmosphere in the room shifted. No longer was Callie the one drowning in their judgment. She had reclaimed her space, her power. She had found her voice. James wrapped his arm around her, pulling her in close. He kissed the top of her head, and for the first time that day, Callie didn't feel small. She didn't feel invisible. She felt seen, for the first time in years. Have you ever felt invisible in your own family? How did you reclaim your voice when it felt like no one was listening? What if the people who try to bring you down are actually giving you the strength you need to rise above them? How far would you go to prove them wrong? The weight of the room seemed to lift, but the question still lingered. Was this truly the end of the battle? Or had it only just begun? The stroller sat there, a symbol of everything she had overcome and everything that was yet to come. As the last of the guests drifted out, the sun sinking low outside the windows, the house seemed quieter than ever. The soft hum of the baby monitor filled the silence, but it didn't feel comforting anymore. Callie stood by the stroller, her fingers tracing the smooth surface of its custom design, still trying to process everything that had happened. Her heart felt full, heavy with emotion, but there was a part of her, a small, hidden part, that still couldn't shake the feeling of being unsettled. James had stood by her side, as always. He had fought for her in the quietest of ways, reminding her of the strength she carried within herself. But Callie felt a flicker of doubt she couldn't ignore. She had been so consumed by the cruelty of her family, by the need for validation, that she had almost missed the most important part of the day, the truth that she was enough. Yet there was something else gnawing at her. As the guests laughed and mingled, praising James for his unexpected gift, she noticed how effortlessly he had controlled the room. how easily he had taken charge of the moment, and how, despite his quiet strength, there was still something that unsettled her, the way he dismissed her family's cruelty as though it had no effect on him. Callie had never questioned James before. He was her rock. He was the one who made her feel seen when everyone else made her feel invisible. But now, as she stood there looking at the stroller, the nagging feeling inside her grew louder. Had he been protecting her all these years? Or had he been controlling her? Callie? His voice broke through her thoughts, pulling her back to the present. He was standing in the doorway of the nursery, his brow furrowed slightly, concern etched across his face. Yeah? She turned to him, trying to shake off the feeling. Are you okay? He asked again, his tone soft but insistent. His eyes held a question she wasn't sure she could answer. I'm fine, she said quickly, forcing a smile that didn't quite meet her eyes. James didn't buy it. He never did. He took a step toward her, his gaze lingering on the stroller before returning to her face. I know you're strong, Callie. I know you don't need anyone's approval, but I also know how much it hurts when they don't see you the way you deserve. His words were gentle, but there was an edge to them. He was talking about her family, but it felt like he was talking about something else too, something deeper, something she wasn't ready to confront. I don't care about their approval, she said, but even she could hear the lie in her voice. She was fooling no one, not even herself. James didn't respond right away. Instead, he just walked over to her, taking her hand in his. His touch was familiar, but there was an unfamiliar weight to it now. As he held her, she felt the tension between them, something unspoken, something neither of them had dared to address before. The quiet buzz of the baby monitor in the background seemed louder, the space between them colder. I didn't want them here, Callie, James said, his voice lower than usual, almost a whisper. I didn't want your family to come. I didn't want them to be a part of this, to be a part of us. Her chest tightened. The words hit her harder than anything else that day. What are you talking about? She stepped back slightly, her heart racing, but James didn't let go of her hand. I've been protecting you from them for years, he said, his words coming faster now. I've been keeping them away because I knew what they'd do to you. I knew how they'd make you feel. But I wasn't protecting you. I was keeping you from something. I was keeping you from seeing the truth. The truth? What truth? Callie stared at him, trying to process the whirlwind of emotions crashing inside her. She had never seen him like this. There had always been a quiet certainty about James, a stability she had relied on. But now he looked almost conflicted. I don't understand, she whispered, her voice trembling. What truth? He took a deep breath, his thumb brushing over her knuckles as though trying to calm both her and himself. You've always been enough, Callie. You've always been enough for me. But what about you? What about what you need? The question hit her like a punch to the gut. What did she need? She had spent so much of her life seeking their approval, trying to earn their love, to prove she was worthy. But what if it had never been about them at all? What if the real question was about her? What did she need? Callie pulled her hand away from his, suddenly feeling cold, though the room was warm. Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you let me see them for who they really are? James' eyes flickered with a mixture of guilt and frustration. Because I didn't want to lose you, he admitted softly. I didn't want to risk it. I thought if I kept them away, you'd be safe. But I see now that I've been keeping you locked in a cage too, Callie. A cage of my own making. Her heart pounded in her chest as his words sunk in. The truth was heavier than she had anticipated. She had spent so long blaming her family for everything, their rejection, their cruelty. But now she realized it wasn't just them. It was her own blind spot. It was the way she had let James shield her from the world. It was the way she had depended on him for her own sense of self-worth. Callie, he whispered, stepping closer again. I'm sorry. I thought I was protecting you, but I wasn't. I've been controlling the narrative. I've been controlling us. Callie's mind was spinning, her thoughts a blur. She had always trusted him, always believed in him. But now, she didn't know what to believe. She looked at the stroller again, its soft pastel light still pulsing gently. She had thought it was the perfect gift, a symbol of everything they had built together. But now it felt like the beginning of something much darker. She stepped back, shaking her head. "I need time," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I need to figure out who I am without you." As the silence settled between them, the weight of the words hung in the air, suffocating both of them. Callie didn't know where she would go from here or how to fix the fractures in her heart. All she knew was that she had to face the truth, whatever it was. Have you ever felt like your own identity was shaped by someone else's expectations? What happens when you start seeing them for who they truly are? The door to the nursery clicked softly behind her as she stepped out into the hallway, her mind racing, her heart heavy. She wasn't sure where she was going, but she knew one thing. The world outside the cage was waiting for her, and she wasn't going to let it pass her by. Callie sat alone in the nursery, the soft hum of the baby monitor filling the air. The room was quiet now, save for the occasional creak of the old wooden floorboards beneath her feet. The stroller sat in the corner, its once gleaming pastel lights now dimmed, as if it had known that something important was about to change. James had left her there, telling her he would be back soon. But she couldn't wait. She couldn't wait to unravel the mess that had become her life. Her fingers trembled as she brushed a lock of hair behind her ear. She had never felt more alone, more uncertain. The man she had trusted, the one she had married and believed in with her whole heart, had betrayed her. Not in the way that hurt physically, but in the way that made her question everything she thought she knew about love, about family, and about herself. She had spent years trying to be enough, trying to meet her family's expectations, trying to win their love, even when they made her feel like an outsider in her own home. And James, he had always been there, a quiet protector. But now she realized it wasn't just about him protecting her. It was about him controlling her, keeping her away from the truth, from the people who had hurt her, from her own strength. Callie stood up, the weight of her decision pressing down on her shoulders. She couldn't keep running. She couldn't keep hiding behind James or the false sense of security he had given her. She had to face it all, face the family who had rejected her, face the truth about James, and most importantly, face herself. Her reflection in the nursery mirror stared back at her, a woman on the edge of a life she didn't know how to live. Her pregnancy had been the one thing she had always clung to, the one thing that felt like it could redeem her, make her whole. But now, she wasn't sure. She wasn't sure of anything anymore. She turned towards the door. It was time. Time to confront everything. She didn't know what she was going to say or how James would react, but she knew one thing for sure. She couldn't keep living in a cage built by someone else's expectations. She found him downstairs in the kitchen, leaning against the counter, his eyes fixed on the floor. When he heard her footsteps, he looked up, and for a moment, their gazes locked, neither of them saying anything. There was no need for words, not yet. Callie could see the regret in his eyes, the guilt, the understanding that everything was about to change. "I can't do this anymore," she said, her voice low but steady. "I can't live in the shadow of your protection, James. I can't keep hiding from them, from the truth. I need to face it all, even if it hurts, even if it breaks me." James stepped towards her, but she held up her hand, stopping him. She needed to say this. She needed to say it out loud, to herself, to him, to the world. "You kept me locked in this house, James. You kept me from my family, from the truth of who I am. You kept me safe, but you also kept me small. I've been running from my own strength, from my own voice. I've let you decide for me what's best, what I should feel. But I need to find my own way now." His face twisted with pain, but he didn't argue. He knew. He had known all along. She could see it in the way his shoulders slumped, the way he lowered his head. He hadn't just been protecting her. He had been protecting himself from the reality that she might never need him the way she did before. "I'm sorry, Callie," he said softly, his voice barely a whisper. "I thought I was doing the right thing. I thought I was keeping you safe. I thought I thought I could protect you from them. I don't need your protection anymore, she replied, her words stronger now, bolder. I need to stand on my own. I need to know who I am without you, without them, without all the expectations. I need to be the woman I've been hiding from for so long. The silence that followed was heavy, like the world had paused, holding its breath. Callie didn't know what would come next. She didn't know if she could forgive him or if she even wanted to. But she knew she couldn't keep pretending. She couldn't keep living in this shadow. James took a step back, his hand rising slightly as if to reach out, but he stopped himself. There was nothing more to say, not right now. Callie knew the pain in his eyes was real, but it didn't change the fact that she had to walk away from everything she had built with him, everything they had built together. She had to rebuild herself, piece by piece. I have to go, she said quietly, her hand resting on her belly. I need to figure out who I am without you. She didn't look back as she walked towards the door, the weight of her decision settling in her chest. The house felt empty now, the once welcoming walls now closing in around her. She stepped outside, the cool air hitting her face like a slap, but it felt like freedom. She didn't know what was next. She didn't know if she would ever truly reconcile with her family, or if she could find her way back to James. But she knew one thing for sure. She was no longer afraid to be herself. She was no longer afraid to face the world, no matter how messy, how painful it might be. The baby inside her stirred, and she placed a hand over her belly, feeling the life growing inside her. This was her moment. This was her story to write. As she walked down the street, the first step in a journey she hadn't expected, she realized something. Sometimes you have to break everything to rebuild. Sometimes the only way to heal is to face the truth, no matter how hard it is. What do you think is the hardest part of breaking free from someone else's expectations? How do you find the courage to stand up for yourself when everything feels like it's falling apart? If you felt something while reading this story, leave a comment and share your thoughts. If this story spoke to you, type 100 below to show your support. Where are you watching from? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to share this story with your friends. Thanks for watching and for being part of our community at Life Stories.